My day starts early. I like to be out of bed long before the sun rises, usually around 3:30 a.m. I prefer to wear old-fashioned clothes so I can really channel my inner Laura Ingalls Wilder. I just find it helps me be more efficient throughout the day. I'm Jill Winger, and this is a day in the life of a modern homestead family. While the rest of the family is still sleeping, I sneak down to the barn to start the morning chores. I find that if I avoid artificial light, the animals are much happier and the cow gives more milk. So I do as much by candlelight as possible. I milk the cow, feed the chickens, and make sure everything has food and water before I come back up to the house to start breakfast. It's important that we have a full-scale 4-course breakfast every single morning. And after many years of perfecting my routine, I'm pretty proud of the fact that I can have it done from start to finish in about 2.5 hours. Hold on just a second. You guys know I'm joking, right? So while this is what I think a lot of people assume our life is like, it's not quite actually reality. Let's try this again. My day actually starts about 6 or 6:30 in the morning. I wear regular old jeans, simple shirts, sometimes a sweatshirt in the wintertime. There's nothing wrong with wearing skirts, but they're just not really my personal jam, and they're not super practical where we live in Wyoming. My kids actually handle most of the chores by themselves, although when we are milking our cows, my husband Christian and I will go down to the barn and handle that part of the morning. This past year, we purchased a milking machine, which has been amazing. We hand milk for a very, very long time, which definitely has a certain amount of charm to it, but I love the efficiency of the machine, plus it keeps the milk a little bit cleaner. Once milking is done, I'll head back up to the house while Christian finishes cleaning up the milking parlor so I can start breakfast. I love to cook, but our mornings are really full, so we keep our breakfasts very simple. Usually things like sourdough pancakes, scrambled eggs, or this morning, Mesa, my daughter, is making baked oatmeal, which is one of our favorites. Once we finish up with breakfast, I tidy up the kitchen, pour my coffee, the kids do their morning inside chores, and we get ready to start school. It's our goal to start our homeschool day usually by 8 a.m., but depending on how the animals roll that morning or whatever else is going on, sometimes it's a little bit closer to 8:30. Our school routine is pretty simple. We focus on the basics, math, writing, reading, and then we throw in science and history a couple times throughout the week. Once the bookwork is done, we'll head over to the fireplace and do a read aloud with a history or science book before we wrap up for the day. Once we're done with school, the kids are usually raring to get outside and play, and I like to use this little gap of time before lunch to do some random activities that I may have on my schedule. Sometimes it's working in the garden, watering plants, cleaning out the barn, or like today, I'm working on some food prep. I have a beef roast here. I'm going to sear it, stick it in a Dutch oven, and put it in the stove for the afternoon so we can have it for supper. We're usually all starving by about 11:30, so we usually have an early lunch. Christian will often come back in the house and have lunch with us. He usually spends his morning feeding cows or working on projects outside. Our lunches are simple, generally leftovers, or like today, we're having leftover turkey on some homemade sourdough English muffins. After lunch, once the kitchen is tidied up, Christian will usually head back outside to check his cows or work on projects, and I will work on the office for a little bit of time. Our online business is our family's bread and butter, so I'll spend this time writing blog posts, recording podcasts, editing videos, things like that. This is the one part of our life that really isn't that glamorous or homesteader-ish, if you will. It's just pretty normal, and you'll find me a lot of afternoons hanging out on the computer, working on the business. But I think that's the beauty of modern homesteading. You can mix the pieces of the old that you like with pieces of modern life, and it all flows together. Now, after I'm done in the office around 3:30 or so, I try to get a little bit of physical activity in while supper is simmering or cooking or finishing up. So sometimes that means I'll head out to the little gym we built in our shop and get a little run in or lift some weights. Or if it's a nice day, I'll head out to the barn and ride my horse for a little while. While I'm doing my random stuff throughout the afternoon, the kids are usually either hanging out with me or they're running around outside playing or working on craft projects. They do the evening chores around 4 o'clock, and then after that they're allowed to have a little bit of screen time while I wrap up supper preparations. We usually eat around 5:30 or 6, and we do make it a priority to eat around the table as a family as often as we possibly can. And yes, sometimes we do have candlelight, but we still use other lights too. Our after supper activities kind of depend on the season. If it's summertime, we'll head outside and work in the garden or work on projects till dark. But in the winter, we like to use this time to relax and rest up. I might also use this time to start any sourdough projects for the following day, since they need to rise overnight. The kids go to bed around 7:30, and then Christian and I will stay up a little past that, read books, hang out, maybe even watch some Netflix before we go to bed around 9:30 or 10. And that's it, a day in our life. I think there's portions that are a little bit old-fashioned and quirky, and portions that look a lot like everybody else. And I think that's the beauty of modern day homesteading. You can make it look however you want it to look, and that's what keeps it interesting. If you're curious about how we heat our home exclusively with wood, watch this video.